Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the main tactical themes in Arsenal's 2-0 win at Crystal Palace. So in today's video, first we'll focus on Arsenal and Crystal Palace's pressing, then we'll look at how Arsenal were able to create chances from open play, and lastly we'll highlight the significance of Anderson's passing range from deeper positions. So when we break it all down and we do look at the board, we have both sides starting in a 4-2-3-1, which means that the battles across the pitch should be even, with only the center backs having a 2v1 advantage against the center forwards. So when we look at how both sides look to press, Arsenal's pressing was successful in the early stages, as Palace struggled to build out of the back on several occasions throughout the game. What we ended up seeing was that Gabriel Jesus would step towards Guehi, Martinelli would push towards Anderson, and then you'd see Zinchenko stepping out towards Klein, with Gabriel now forced to shift over towards IU if the ball was played beyond Zinchenko. In that midfield zone, Odegaard would often step towards Doucouré, who was dropping deeper to get on the ball, and that would leave Saka and Thomas Partey dealing with Schlupp and Eze. Thomas Partey would often push towards Schlupp, and then Saka would be tasked with tracking the movement of Eze. Ultimately, the same would apply on the opposite flank if Jesus stepped towards Anderson and Martinelli stuck towards Klein. Saka would step towards Guehi. You'd have White pushing towards Mitchell and Saliba stepping towards Zaha. However, the other alternative for Arsenal was to shift into two banks of four, and they could have Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard sitting on Doucouré and Schlupp, Xhaka and Thomas Partey blocking off the passing lanes in towards Eze and Edouard, and then have their wide players dropping off deeper to deal with Mitchell and Klein and protect their fullbacks against Ayew and Zaha if the Crystal Palace fullbacks didn't push forward. Therefore, when you shift to how Palace approached the game without the ball, it was somewhat similar. They dropped off into two banks of four. The issue that they had in the early stages was that Eze wasn't sticking tight towards Thomas Partey, and in the first half in particular, he had ample space to get onto the ball and play forward passes, but the same thing applied in terms of that midfield battle where they had Eze sticking towards Thomas Partey and then Doucouré and Schlupp dealing with Odegaard and Xhaka. The other alternative would be to have Eze stepping towards the center backs and blocking off the passing lane in towards Xhaka, and that would ensure that Doucouré and Schlupp could stick towards Odegaard and Thomas Partey, and if not, then they would need one of those midfielders to step forward to deal with the spare man. With Palace not aggressively pressing from the front as Arsenal, it ensured that the Gunners dominated large spells of that opening half, and that's where we did witness a lot of rotation from specifically that left-hand side, where at times you witnessed Zinchenko tucking in towards that central area and Xhaka dropping off in towards the left half space. If that wasn't the case, you would see Zinchenko in more of a narrow position in the half space and Xhaka in the gap between Doucouré and Ayew, while Odegaard was also in the gap between Schlupp and Zaha. And the other alternative for Arsenal in this situation would be to have Xhaka in that position, have Martinelli shifting laterally in between Klein and Anderson, and then having Zinchenko push forward down the left touchline. The most common theme for Arsenal was having Zinchenko tucking into that central midfield position and Xhaka more deeper in the half space, and from there Martinelli could either hug the touchline to go 1v1 against Klein, or shift laterally to drag Klein out of position, or get closer towards Gabriel Jesus. The other alternative for Arsenal there would be to have Xhaka in that gap in between the center back and the right back, and then having Martinelli hug the touchline, and then Zinchenko was looking to push forward in the half space and trying to combine with his teammates. Along with Gabriel Jesus dropping off into the midfield zone to link play with his teammates, or dragging the center back out of position and then spinning beyond them, what you ended up seeing was that Arsenal's attacking approach didn't result in consistent, legitimate goal-scoring chances. They struggled to get in beyond the Crystal Palace backline, and frankly, when you look at their best chances from open play, they stem through the work rate of Gabriel Jesus to win possession and then carry the ball forward to place his teammates in legitimate goal-scoring positions. In this example, you could see Gabriel Jesus pressing Guehi and focus on how this play develops. He's able to get his body across the center back, and now Anderson has to retreat. And when Gabriel Jesus brushes the center back off the ball, you can now see that Odegaard's making a free run in towards the penalty area. As that play develops, now Anderson has to shift towards Gabriel Jesus, and it opens up a free lane for Odegaard. The Arsenal number 9 is aware of Odegaard's movement in towards that area, so he looks to play a splitting pass between the two Crystal Palace center backs to play his captain free. From here, Odegaard should be taking a first touch and getting a shot on goal, but his first touch here is poor. It allows a challenge to be made, and now he's looking to recover by playing the ball back to Martinelli, and that halts the attack. Unfortunately for Arsenal, as the game continued, Anderson was getting tighter on Gabriel Jesus, and he began to win the battle against the Arsenal center forward, and Arsenal suddenly lacked an outlet up front to combine with the teammate and help hold up the play to allow Arsenal to push forward as a unit. And then when we focus on Palace, as we stated, Arsenal's shape out of possession ensured that the midfield couldn't build from those deeper zones and help progress the play from that midfield area to the front line. So they relied on Anderson's passing range from deeper positions when Arsenal dropped off into two banks of four. And that was down to the fact that there was no pressure on the center back. And in the opening half, he looked to play long diagonal balls out towards Zaha to get him into 1v1s with White. And then we started to see Zaha shift into central areas to pull White narrow. And that would start to see Mitchell run off Bukayo Saka to get forward into the final third. However, unfortunately for Crystal Palace, when Mitchell and Zaha got the ball in these areas, they struggled to test Ramsdale or create chances for their teammates. And while Anderson still found Zaha and Mitchell as useful outlets to get into the final third in the second half, he switched his attention to the right flank where Ayew was beginning to make runs off of Zinchenko to break in behind the Arsenal backline. And he got himself into the final third, but again, similar to that left-hand side, he struggled to get his teammates or himself into legitimate goal scoring positions to test Ramsdale. And as that half persisted, Mikel Arteta advised Gabriel to get closer towards that left flank and simply track the movement of Ayew for Zinchenko as cover to ensure that Ayew couldn't get in beyond the Arsenal backline successfully. So with the system clash stifling the ability of both sides to create chances from open play, the key moments of this game stemmed from defensive breakdowns. When you focus on the winner, yes, Zinchenko's movement to the back post was key as no one tracked it, but as you could see, Klein was initially stuck tight on Martinelli, but then he gambled and shifted over towards Thomas Partey, leaving Martinelli free, and when Zinchenko nodded the ball across the 6-yard area, the center backs along with Klein were unable to clear the lines, and it fell to an unmarked Martinelli to nod a free header beyond the keeper, whereas Anderson towered high over Zinchenko to nod the ball. Second half, following Klein winning possession in Arsenal's third, you have Zaha finding Eze breaking beyond Odegaard, free on goal in left half space, but once again he failed to beat Ramsdale. So as you can see, with the system clash limiting both sides' ability to play through midfield, a combination of direct play, finishing around the penalty area, and work rate out of possession served as decisive factors in Arsenal claiming 3 points at Selhurst Park.